The Diesel UCI Mountain Bike World Cup has moved to the Alps, and when mountain bikers are up high, they think of only going downhill very, very fast. It's time for those brave men and women on their flying machines as the World Cup downhill season gets underway. We're at Le Jet in France, not far from the Swiss border, at a height of nearly 2,000 metres. Of course, being that high does have its problems. Late snow was a real worry for the organisers, as only a few weeks ago certain parts of the course were several feet under. But if there's one thing guaranteed to drive away ice and snow, it's wind and rain. The thaw hit Le Jet just in time, and the course, which has seen World Cup service twice before, is ready for action. This event is prone to interference from the weather, and heavy rain has made it a bit muddy under wheel. Last year's World Cup winners Anne-Caroline Chasson and Nicolas Vouilloz are both on home ground in France as they open their defence of the titles. The course itself has won lots of friends. It's over 3 kilometres long and has a drop of over 660 metres. We start our coverage with the women's race. So we're on course now with Sabrina Jouniet, now riding for Team Sun. She did ride for Sintesi Velici last year, but that team decimated now to just one rider, ex-World Cup winner in the men's field, Corrado Herrin. But Jouniet not looking as fast as she could be there. But of course, very deceptive. This mud, very, very thick indeed. And at the halfway point, she was over 4 seconds slower than Lee Donovan. Now riding for Intense. She rode for Mongoose last year. And this is the last section of the course now. And Jouniet being very tentative indeed. But I don't know whether she'll make up the time on Lee Donovan. Has to be very careful on that corner there. She might just do it though. Jouniet obviously going a lot faster on the bottom section of the course than Donovan. 8:46.09 to beat. And she does it. 0.89 fast, 89 seconds. She's just that little bit faster than Lee Donovan. She looks slightly tired there, doesn't she? As we go back on course to Sari Jorgensen, another rider with a new team. Last year she was riding for Yeti. Only one rider on that team this year. That's Marla Streb. She's to come. But Jorgensen now riding for the most, probably one of the most famous men in mountain biking, John Tomac. But Jorgensen looking good as well. She won a round of the World Cup last year. I don't know whether she's going to do it this year. As I say, this section of the course very muddy indeed. And she's going to beat Jouniet's time by a mile. She was faster at the split point, but she's going to do an 8:31.14. Over 14 seconds faster. That truly is amazing. The only other riders who have beaten Anne-Caroline Chasson last year was Jorgensen. Can Missy Giove do what she's done before? She's beaten Anne-Caroline Chasson. She's riding for a new team this year. Fosa Zonic did once ride for the mighty Volvo Cannondale. Just has a slip on course there. But then Missy does tend to let it all hang out on course. She's a wild rider, probably one of the wildest riders in the women's field today. But despite that wildness, she's so consistent, always usually in the first three. And Missy will be very, very keen to do well here for her new team. And she's got that time of Jorgensen on the left-hand side of your screen to beat. 8:31.14. Benazzi 5 seconds slower than her. But Giove really does put the hammer down when she motors. Out of the saddle, 34.25 kilometres an hour. Usually they're a lot faster on this course. But Missy Giove got that time to beat of Sari Jorgensen, 8:31.14, and she is going to beat Jorgensen's time by a mile unless she has a major slip up here. My word, these women are getting quicker and quicker, aren't they? What's it going to be? 8:17.97, over 13 seconds faster than Jorgensen. That is amazing. So Marla Streb, from the start, we recorded this earlier in her run. The teacher of anatomy and physiology knows how to ride her bike, but she didn't do it correctly there. This also recorded from her run, losing about 10 seconds on the course. Very, very muddy. We are now live with Marla Streb, supremely fit. Really does know how to ride her bike very well indeed. Technically good. She really doesn't have a major weakness. In fact, back in 1997, she came second in the cross-country Masters World Championships. So the woman from San Diego in California knows how to ride her bike very fast indeed. She likes this course. She knows her fitness is going to tell. She was 4 seconds slower than Missy Giove at the midpoint, but is she going to beat Missy Giove now? Marla Streb going for the line really, really fast now. Can she beat the time? 8:18.62. Just over half a second slower for Marla Streb. So disappointing. Hasn't won a World Cup yet. She may well do. And as with Marla Streb, we recorded the start of the fastest woman in qualifying, Anne-Caroline Chasson, now riding for Volvo Cannondale. She came out of the start quite well indeed, but on the midpoint of the course, she came off there. An amazing crash from this woman. She doesn't often do this. She did it last year at Nevergao, just the once. And also, amazingly, getting some help from the crowd. Now, point of interest here, usually people would be disqualified for this, but Anne-Caroline Chasson didn't actually ask for that help. And at the midpoint, she was 17 seconds faster than Missy Giove. We are back live now, and she has got to beat that time of Missy Giove, a time of 8:17.97. The woman who hasn't been beaten here must be thinking that crash has really put her out of contention. But she seems to have lost the one weakness that she did have in her armoury. As we look at Missy Giove, intent on watching Anne-Caroline Chasson. That one weakness used to be her physical presence, but Anne-Caroline Chasson won 7 races in 1998. She doesn't have a weakness now and almost comes off on that corner. She's got a time of 8:17.97 to beat, and she is going to obliterate it. Anne-Caroline Chasson coming across the line now. Is she going to break 8 minutes? She doesn't do that, but 17 seconds faster. My word, that really is incredible.
I had a very good start. Everything went well. Then I made a huge mistake and lost so much time and really thought it was over for first place. I carried on because with the new regulation, every race counts for the World Cup. It's really important to get maximum points, but I really believed I'd lost that race.
What can you say about her? 3 wins out of 3 in Leger, 8 out of the last 9 World Cup downhills, an unprecedented 14 overall. Anne-Caroline Chasson starts this season the way she finished last. It's another huge margin of victory despite that heavy fall. Missy Giove takes second, a good start to her career with the Foes team. First Diesel Leaders jersey to Chasson, while Marla Streb and Sarah Jorgensen will feel that they have completed a good day's work. In the wake of the downhillers come the duelists, their season open to the usual thrills and spills. Some withstand the argy-bargy better than others, and in the women's event, last year's overall winner, Katrina Miller of Australia, came up against Lee Donovan in the semi-final.
Lee Donovan, the intense cycles rider, against the hot favourite, Katrina Miller, the Australian, riding for Team Jamis on the right-hand side of your screen. They're going to wait for the motocross gates to drop inwards towards them. These 2 riders battled out in the first round of the Norba Championships last week, and it was Lee Donovan who won that race, and it looks like Lee Donovan has the upper hand at the minute. Changed teams from last year, from Mongoose to intense cycles for this year, but it looks like Miller is coming back at her very, very strong indeed. For such a small rider, Katrina Miller, brilliant riding from her on the inside line. I don't think Lee Donovan knew what was happening there. That really is surprising because Katrina Miller is a tiny rider, but so strong indeed. Very fast on the bike, and it looks like Lee Donovan trying to get back at her. I don't think she's going to do it. She doesn't. Miller takes that one. Great riding.
Another final for Miller, a first for her opponent, Britain's Emma Guy.
Okay, riders, let's set them up. Riders ready. Watch the gate.
And Miller getting the good start. Emma Guy is very keen here, trying to edge out Miller. Miller looked like she'd lost her footing there, but managed to get it back. Emma's going to have to go hard now to catch the Australian. So good in the corners. Former BMX world champion, and it doesn't look like Emma Guy is going to get back at the Australian unless she can do something on the last corner, and she loses it there, just loses her line. And would you believe it, Katrina Miller starts off where she finished last year, winning a round of the Swatch Dual World Series. What are these women going to do to beat the Australian Katrina Miller?
What indeed, Miller starts the Swatch Dual World Series with a handy 50 points in the bag, a sign of things to come perhaps. Congratulations to Emma Guy. Second place is a great achievement, while Lee Donovan pips Sabrina Jounier to third place. In the men's event, one of the stars of dual, Eric Carter of America, came up against Michael Morosi of the Czech Republic in the second round.
Okay, riders, let's set them up. Riders ready. Watch the gate.
And Eric Carter on the right-hand side of your screen. He doesn't get as good a start as he usually does. And Morosi edges out the GT rider. Fabulous riding from him. Very, very quick out of the gates. And Eric Carter, usually very intelligent when he races, and he's come off there. My word, a bad mistake by Carter. And Morosi looks like he's going to go down the mountain to take the win, but Carter's coming back at him. Good riding from Carter, and Morosi seems to be paddling around here, and Eric Carter coming back to overtake the Czech Republic rider. Fabulous stuff from Eric Carter. Carter didn't make it to the final though. That was between last year's overall winner Brian Lopes riding an unconventional single stanchion front fork and Slovakia's wonder boy Filip Polk.
Okay, riders, let's set them up. Riders ready. Watch the gate.
Polk getting a good start, but so did Lopes. Look at him spin the gears there. He's holding that line, just takes Polk out there. Perfectly legitimate. Clever riding from Brian Lopes, the unofficial dual world champion. Oh, and just as it looked like Brian Lopes was losing his footing, Filip Polk does the same as well. So Brian Lopes cruises down to his first Swatch Dual World Series win of 1999.
Brian Lopes, like Katrina Miller, gets that champagne feeling once again. In third place, another Volvo Cannondale rider, Cedric Gracier, pips Eric Carter. But watch out for Filip Polk. He made a big impression last year, and the smart money is on him doing even better this. And he's still only 17. And guess what? Volvo Cannondale sit atop the trade standings thanks to Lopes, Gracier and others. Will anyone else ever get a look in? The men's downhill concluded the weekend, and last year's World Cup winner Nicolas Vullios had a point to prove. After qualifying only 24th, he set a stiff time and challenged the others to beat it. The first to threaten him was Guillaume Koch.
We go back to the next rider on the mountain, Guillaume Koch. Rides for Scots from Colmar in France. The best you can say about Guillaume is that he's consistently inconsistent. Sometimes he's brilliant, sometimes he's awful. He has been 10th in the World Cup. That was his best year in '96, the first time we visited Le Jay. Been riding quite a long time, since about 1994. World Cup about 1995. Second best at the split point time there from Guillaume. Excellent riding from him. He was only 28th here last year, just about 24.5 seconds slower than Christian Taillefer. But looking good at the moment, looking a lot faster than any of the riders we've seen so far, apart from Vullios. Much like his compatriot Cedric Gracier, tends to let things hang out a lot. Just look at his style. Doesn't look as in control as some riders, but believe me, he is. Sometime, anyway. Powerful rider. actually admitted at one time that he did train far too much, taking that jump quite well. Just avoiding the really deep mud, going on the outside of the track here. 3.1 kilometers long. The fastest time last year, 1998, 5 minutes 46 seconds. The fastest time this year, 6 minutes 35 seconds. And it looks like Guillaume Koch is looking good at the moment. It's going to be very close indeed, but he's all out, all over the show. But he's going to really have to push hard to beat the time of Voulios. He's not going to do it. Just about 2.71 seconds slower. 6:38.43. As we go back up the mountain to Sean Palmer, the rebel without a cause, or with a cause, rides for Mountain Dew Specialized. Before coming over to Le Jay here in France. At a fourth place position at the first round of the American Series at Big Bear, which we will visit for the World Cup. In round 4 of the downhill in the middle of June. Palmer looking good at the moment, looking very good indeed. He's never won a World Cup race. He's come very close indeed, and he's going to be well on the time of Nicolas Voulios. 5:09.71, just 1.69 slower at the split. Excellent riding from the rebel without a cause, Sean Palmer. A nerveless rider. Had a very disappointing season last year. Only 39th in the World Cup. Voulios shaking his head. No smiles there yet. He knows it's a long way to go. I remember last year at Big Bear in the World Cup, Voulios finished the race. He only came 12th. That was his poorest result of 1998. And he just couldn't believe it. He said, I went as fast as I could. Palmer looking good at the moment. I don't know whether he gets sound checks. He's going on the right-hand side of the course at this point. We saw Koch go on the left-hand side as we are looking at it. And Palmer has that time of 6:35.87 to beat. Out of the saddle sprinting. I know he trained very hard this winter. The ex-snowboard champion looking good at the moment, only 10 seconds behind. It's going to be very close indeed for Sean Palmer. The Mountain Dew Specialized rider really needs to get out the saddle if he wants to beat the time of Nicolas Voulios. Is he going to do it? Oh, 600 slower. 6:35.78. We now join Cedric Gracier. Gracier was 7th here back in 1996. First time, as I said before, that the World Cup came to Le Jay. In fact, Gracier going very well at the moment. The split time of Nicolas Voulios, 5.0941, and Cedric Gracier, 13.41, faster than Voulios. That is superb riding from Cedric Gracier. The bronze medalist from the World Championships of 1997, and will Nicolas Voulios on the left-hand side of your screen be worried about his ex-teammate? Looks composed, he knows there's quite a bit of the course to go. Oh! Slight slip there for Gracier, but he does tend to have a wild style. He's nowhere near as fluid as his French compatriot Nicolas Voulios. Really does like to hang out. 13 seconds faster at the split. That is very good indeed. Takes the left-hand lane coming down this section of the course. 3.1 kilometers long. The time to beat, 6:35.87 by compatriot Nicolas Voulios, ex-teammate of Gracier. Voulios now watching Gracier. He's looking good at the moment, and I think he might beat the time of Nicolas Voulios. I am positive he's going to do that. Oh no! Just as I say it, Gracier comes off on that last corner, but he's still going to beat the time. My word, that is fabulous riding from Gracier. Superb, 6:22.30. And he's unhappy about it. I don't think he knows he's in the lead. My word, 13 seconds faster, and it could have been even more. There's a slow-mo of what happened to Gracier. Just came into that berm, didn't turn the handlebars quick enough, just caught the mud there. Steve Peat, the British rider, the second fastest rider in qualifying this morning with a time of 7 minutes 11.59 seconds. He loves the wet, he loves it gnarly. If anything, this course isn't as technical as Steve would like it. He won his first World Cup last year at probably the most difficult course on the circuit, Snoqualmie. He won't be visiting that course this year, but he does love conditions like this. And he's looking good at the moment. 4:56.30 from Cedric Gracier, and Steve Peat looking very good as well. He's going to be close to Gracier's time. 1/100th of a second faster than Cedric Gracier. I wonder if Steve is getting any sort of sign that he is this fast. The GT rider is stomping at the moment. I don't know whether the GT team does what a lot of the cross-country teams, and Steve just losing it there on that part of the course. Cedric Gracier looking at the same pictures that we're looking at. And he put his head in his hands when he saw that split point time. He knows Steve Peat is on a roll. Steve Peat won the first round of the American Series last week at Big Bear in conditions completely different from what they are now. And it might be very important, that crash that Cedric Gracier had at the last bend on the course earlier in his run. Shaking his head now. Ooh, Peat really letting it hang out now. He's going to have to motor if he wants to beat that time. He was only 1/100th slower than Cedric Gracier. Steve Peat loves these conditions. He's looking good at the moment. Don't make the same mistake at the bottom, Steve. Takes it well. I think he's going to do it if he really motors now. Get out the saddle, Peat. Oh, he loses some time there. He might do it. I'm not sure. 6:22.14. Steve Peat moves into first spot. What a ride. My word, just one more rider to come, and Steve Peat will come second, if nothing else.
And that last rider, Johan Engstrom, came nowhere near Peat's time. Sheffield's finest had won his second World Cup downhill, and after his amazing pre-season, perhaps this might prove to be one hell of a year.
You've had a brilliant start to the season. This must top it all.
Yeah, I'm totally stoked. Nothing better than beating the French in their own country. Course was really tough. I was spent by the bottom. Luckily I had a light iDrive bike, and I was just railing the turns. RockShox suspension was just gripping the whole way down, and I knew the course was drying out, so I knew I could nail it, and everything went just good. I had a little crash in the woods, but I knew it wouldn't be a perfect run to win on this course because everyone had made a mistake because it was so hard, and I just got up and kept going and came through. Stoked.
Sometimes I'm good in léger, and always I have something. Yes, I crash or I break something. This year I break nothing, but I crash. Maybe next year.
This year we'll have to wait. Léger belongs to Steve Peat, who, as a Yorkshireman, celebrates with something other than champagne. Down the leaderboard, Voulios's third place was a great achievement after his qualifying problems. And watch out for Sean Palmer. Mountain biking's very own Wildman had a great snowboard season, and he has started to transfer that form to two wheels. Guillaume Coq finished fifth, and another Frenchman, Michael Pascal, wound up sixth. No drops this season, of course, so those that missed out have already got some serious catching up to do. Volvo Cannondale topped the cross-country, the dual and the downhill trace standings after Chasson's win and a cluster of minor places. They're already 54 points ahead of last year's winners, Team Sun. Steve Peat's GT are in third. It's off to the other end of the Alps next week to Slovenia and a new venue at Maribor for the second downhill. Can Peat repeat, and who can chase Chasson? I'm Mark Bysiegel, and I'll let you know then.